So, good news and bad news. The good news is tariffs have been postponed for at least a month. Bad news is tariffs have been postponed for at least a month because everybody may have different feelings when it comes to tariffs in our allies. So, tariffs for China were fully implemented, and China has struck back. They've implemented some tariffs on their own on some stuff, and they've decided things that they do and don't want to, tariff that they are importing themselves, that we're exporting over to their country. And that's something we're gonna have to deal with. I think that there are a number of things you should consider buying, prepping, snagging, not just necessarily before the hypothetical tariffs are implemented March 1st, because at this point, I don't know what's actually going to be implemented and not implemented when it comes to this administration, but also because before any other relations are spoiled with any other countries around the world. I oftentimes think about the type of things I want to make sure I always have at the stockpile, have at the ready. And I never thought about them more than these past couple of weeks. Before January 20th, I was things I wanted to snag. Before these tariffs that were supposed to take place this morning were supposed to, came about, I wanted to snag. And now we got another just arbitrary deadline of March 1st. So what does all that mean? I think one of the first things to consider would be medical devices and medical supplies. I put this at the top of the list. Anything that may be coming from that you may need for your CPAP machines, your breathing machines, insulin, pharmaceuticals, anything that you're allowed to get from your doctor to have extra, stockpile of, if you're allowed to. I'm not telling you to violate any rules, or things that could be important to your loved ones. This also includes medical supplies. Check out your trauma kits, your ouchie boo-boo kits. Check and see where your tourniquet levels are, your Israeli bandages are, things for sunken chest wounds. Check on all that stuff. It's time to take a look at that stuff because organically you may have been using it over the last couple of months because of ouchie boo-boos or because of emergencies or because of whatever's been going on. Now it's time to actually make sure that you still have that thing stocked up. So medical devices, medical supplies, check your med kits. If you DIY them, this is an opportunity to make sure that you go to your favorite sites. I like Adventure Medical Kits. I'll link down below some of my favorite stuff whenever I'm buying this type of stuff. I like Adventure Medical Kits for like ouchie boo-boo type kits. They also do trauma type stuff. I like 1110 for trauma type stuff. I use that in my truck. I use that in my vehicles and at the house, etc., etc. So first thing to think about is that type of stuff. Next is food. So I started off with medical devices, medical supplies, because we can go a long time without food. I mean, depending on how fat you are, maybe a number of weeks, but you can't go very long without medical help. And if you have to help yourself, I think that's why it should be number one. But number two might be food. And a lot of our trading partners, we get a lot of food from some of those places. From the Ukraine, we get a lot of grain. Obviously, that is turned into different breads, et cetera, et cetera. From Mexico, we get avocados. So from the north, we get our syrup. I know you guys know that the list is endless when it comes to that type of stuff, but not just necessarily dry emergency food, even perishables, things that you can jar, things that you may decide that you want to hold on to. This might be the opportunity where you actually grab those items because of impending relations deteriorating between us and our allies. Oftentimes, I don't say stockpile food if you don't need it. I don't think that that's a thing that you should often do. But if you don't have the ability to grow your own food, like I don't have that ability, it might be time for you to actually take a look at grabbing extra essentials that you may need over the next 30, 60, 90 days, especially if you have the storage for them in some type of deep freezer. Number three is electricity. Now, you can't really buy electricity. That's kind of a weird thing to say. But you can look at solar power stations, emergency supplies, whether it's propane, gas, or my favorite, which is solar power, because the sun is almost out. It's almost out every day. You can get yourself a little generator, get yourself a little charge. I'm a big fan of solar power generators. If Relations do continue to fall apart with our neighbors to the north. They supply up to 3 million homes with electricity every year. If that was all of a sudden cut off, you need to make sure that you can take care of yourself. Even in other type of emergency situations, as we go deeper into winter, as we head towards spring and we go towards the hurricane months here soon, this administration is busy. And I don't want them to do anything with FEMA that could affect you, or a relationship to the north that could affect you. So always having the option to get yourself at least a 1 kilowatt hour, preferably a 2 kilowatt hour power station that you can use at the ready to keep your essentials up and going. So buy, purchase, achieve, acquire a power station, maybe even along with it a 240 watt solar panel, maybe a 400 watt solar panel. You know, I'll link up some videos that I've done recently of different items that I like to use, especially from Dapson, from EcoFlow, etc., etc. All right, so the next one is furniture and lumber. Okay, I'm not saying this for necessarily your prep type items, but maybe you've had your eye or you thought about some stuff that you wanted specifically when it comes to the world of lumber. Might be a good opportunity to snag those things. We get a lot of timber, a lot of lumber from our neighbors from the north. We get a lot of furniture that's made in High Point, North Carolina. It's kind of like the furniture capital of America, with a lot of lumber that's made from the north. So a lot of times we got to think about, is it time for you to snag that type of stuff? Is it the pieces that you may want to have so that you can DIY some stuff? You can renovate your shed. You can fortify different items that you may have. This might be the opportunity to where you actually plunge, make the dive, and make those additional purchases to keep, especially if you can get yourself some pressure treated wood that you can keep outdoors. That would be great. You never know when you need that. You necessarily can't use that indoors. So if you can get yourself some regular, super dry, super good lumber and furniture, that can be advantageous for you as well. This might be the opportunity for you also to get yourself, look at possibly, I know my family's thinking about it, vehicles. Okay, listen, I can't tell you how many times a vehicle goes across the border during the manufacturing process. There is very singularly, very, very rarely a U.S. 100% U.S. born manufacturing process here in the States. It's just not as organic as we kind of think. So, for instance, I drive a GMC Sierra. My GMC Sierra literally on the labeling has instructions, has in the door jamb that are in French. It was a lot of components of my truck were built in Canada. A lot of components of my truck were built in Detroit. It goes back and forth for both, meaning that when does the actual tariff slap on? Is it the finished product? Is it every time it crosses the border? I think that companies now are going to begin to take into account the hypothetical for a tariff by compensating and being corporations and possibly raising prices now. What does that mean? If you've been thinking about grabbing yourself some heavy duty tractor, maybe getting yourself a drive around car for yourself, a vehicle for your teenager, this might be the time to do it, only because prices may go up with the tariffs, and that's something that we 100% have to take in consideration. Next thing is home electronics, Bluetooth devices, televisions, iPads for your kiddos. It might be too late to get those things on a really good deal, but obviously a ton of that crap is made in China, and your opportunity to get that stuff at a reasonably good price may be now, because I think that for the tariff's sake, there is a hard time when the tariffs were implemented, but I think there was a ship by date, and which was Saturday, but you still might be able to get some of those goods, the Saturday goods now. What I'm saying is prices have not immediately jumped up for items that are already on store shelves. If you wait and you're looking for home electronic items that you might be able to get in the future, you may not be able to get those at the same prices that you can get them today. You've been trying to get yourself an upgrade for your PCs. You've been trying to get yourself even some upgrade for your weaponry. You want to get yourself an ACOG. You want to get yourself anything a part of your everyday carry that's electronics based, even some dorky glasses like I'm wearing right now. This might be the time for you to make those type of purchases, because electronics may go up. Now, here's kind of just a big category of stuff that may all be included: textiles, plastics, stuff like that. I don't think that you need to run out and get, but if you've been having your eyes on that type of stuff, you know that we get those from other countries. You know that you may want to decide that you want to grab those now. This might be the opportunity to do that. Tariffs are here. I don't think it raises our threat level in any particular way in anything that I've talked about in the past. I don't think that your threat for home invasions have gone up. I don't think your threat for conventional warfare has gone up, or for cyber attacks have gone up. Well, maybe cyber attacks if China gets pissed off enough. But my point being is I'm not telling you all this stuff because SHTF. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you this because you should always be prepared, and you should always be able to get the things that you want as well. And this might be the opportunity to do that. But comment down below, what do you think are some other things that you might need to snag in the wake of the impending tariffs, or the tariffs that have already been implemented? If this is your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grade. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.